Hey, Amelia.
Hi, Eric. How are you?
Good. Oh, great. We've got a lot of people on the call already. All right, when we just wait a few more seconds, see if anyone else drops in, but I think we've got a good quorum to get going. I will also go ahead and share the, oh great, there's Alex. I will go ahead and share my screen with the running notes doc. And then we can get started. Cool. I had added a couple discussion topics because we have some project lead lifecycle business to deal with. But did other folks have any announcements or other discussion topics to raise before we do that?
Hey everyone, I just wanted to remind everyone we are currently seeking nominations for Cloud Foundry Summit track co-chairs. That ends this Friday. So I just dropped the SurveyMonkey link there. So if you'd like to nominate yourself or anyone else on your team or any of your colleagues to track one of the three summit, to chair one of the three summit tracks, please do so.
Great, thanks for the reminder, Chris. Appreciate it. All right, anything else? If not, we've got a couple of nominations for project leads to confirm since they have been out long enough through the nomination period. First of these is Giuseppe as the Irene project lead. Any objections? All right, congratulations, Giuseppe. And then next up, we've got Amelia nominated as the networking project lead. Any objections? All right, congratulations. Welcome officially to you both. And then just a reminder, we've got the CAPI and CLI project lead positions vacant right now, but we have the only nominees for those two respectively already on the call. So welcome, Seth and Alex. I've preemptively given you both edit access to the PMC notes repository if you want to start adding information about those project areas. So actually, given our ordering of the backlog reviews, that's a good segue to see if there are even just any quick or informal updates from, say, the CLI.
I'm just sorry, this is Alexander. I'm just getting used to this format. So can you just maybe explain like at hello, kind of agenda for today's meeting?
Yeah, sure. So typically we just give some high level updates about what's been going on with each project area over the past few weeks. And then it's also an opportunity for us to ask questions or coordinate on things that might be coming from other projects. So if you don't have anything right now, Alex, don't worry about it. We can definitely get any async updates or just hear from you next time too.
Sounds good. Thanks.
Sure thing. Well, why don't we move on to any updates about CAPI, Seth, if you have anything to comment on. If not, don't worry about it. We can move on.
Yeah, the main thing we are working on is integrating the app manifest diffs with CF push. So we're working on a few bugs that with showing the correct differences between the current app, what has currently been pushed and what it's going to be pushed, and getting that to show up on. We've had app manifest for a while, but now we'll be showing it to developers on when they're pushing. So that's the main thing.
Cool. That sounds great. Any cloud controller or CLI related questions from anyone else here?
If that's okay, like I can just like quickly give similar to that's impromptu update on CLI. Generally, we're just doing a lot of work on our paying technical debt on pipelines, just as a preparation for improvement of our release process. Current release process involves offline laptop to do signing of binaries. We hope to move that all into cloud in safe and fast way. This is CLI update.
Great. Thanks, Alex. Appreciate it. Well, moving on, Giuseppe, would you want to fill us in on what's going on with Irene?
Yeah, sure. I have a PR actually, but it hasn't been merged.
Oh, okay. Let's
But
we can do that together. It'll be fun.
Oh, there it is.
Okay, I may not have given you right access yet, but I will rectify that.
Yeah, no problem.
Made me worried there for a second. I was like, was I not supposed to just be directly committing?
Oh no, please do. Let's see. Well, we'll see how good these updates are. No.
Okay.
Okay, that looks great. I will merge these. All right, exciting. I will refresh this.
It should pop up.
Hey, there we go. All right. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so given the new direction of kubectl and the deprecation of Irene, et cetera, we had a bunch of components in Irene that only existed because of kubectl. So we have removed those, and we plan to release Irene 4.0 as a yet another major release because of this breaking change plus other little breaking changes that we've introduced since last release. We've got our first PR to the cloud controller merged as part of the migration of cloud controller to use our CRD based API as opposed to the REST API. On the other side, we need to make sure that this CRD API is actually like on par with the REST API in terms of features, in terms of maturity in general. So we're doing some investigations to see if there is anything that we're missing in the CRD API, and eventually come up with stories to fill those gaps. And yeah, that's what we've been working on. I think next thing we plan to do is to start looking at potential consequences of migrating to deployments from stateful sets. It's definitely not going to be a change in the default. Stateful sets are probably going to stay as the default because of the fact that some features cannot be delivered without stateful sets. But we're looking into what would break if some customers, like some users, wanted to use state deployments instead of stateful sets, and hopefully we'll be able to allow people to have change the default with a feature flag and use deployments in case of if they're happy to give up some features, basically.
Great, thanks, Giuseppe. And any questions about recent or upcoming Irene work? Well, great. Moving on, why don't we hear from Amelia about networking stuff?
Yeah, there's 2 bugs that will hopefully be fixed soon. The first one is a bad one about TCP routing, and it happens when the port range that TCP router thinks it can use overlaps with system component ports. And that can either cause a TCP router to silently fail and just not work, or if the TCP router gets the port first, then it will probably cause the deployment to fail because your metrics agent or whatever can't start up. So we've been working on that for the past few weeks and are continuing to work on that so that doesn't happen. The next one is about the network policy server. It turns out that the MySQL database table is slightly different than the Postgres database table. And so in MySQL, there's a chance that you can have policies without destinations, and that gets you into a bad state. You know, everything breaks and you have to do some database surgery, which people have been running into. So we're fixing that so they will have the same foreign keys. Oh, fun.
Great, thanks, Amelia. Any questions about networking? If not, why don't we move on to HA proxy? I don't think we have Jeff here, but we've got Dom from SAP. And Dom, I actually don't remember if you joined a call. So if not, welcome.
Hi, yeah, I did. Yeah, this is just a small update. We mainly fixed two things. The first one is HA top, which is just a small tool that allows you to basically do top for HA proxy. So it allows you to inspect the running HA proxy instance. Didn't work with the change to Python 3 based stem cells, and we fixed that. The second thing is a little bit tricky part. We added another monet check for the Bosch release because mainly the existing monet job watches only for the process ID, which doesn't necessarily mean that HA proxy is actually running. It just means that the wrapper script that starts HA proxy is running. But there is the possibility that this script is running, so you have the PID, but HA proxy does not come up eventually, which is bad if you do the Bosch deployment, because it will end up basically deploying all of the HA proxy instances, and none of them will ever come up, and you will end up in an outage. So that's very bad. So we fixed that by just adding a second check that actually watches the health endpoint of HA proxy, and only if that is a response will you go forward. So that's the new feature we added, and the last part is just a minor patch upgrade to get the latest fixes from upstream.
Thank you, that's great. For that stem cell change, is that with the transition to bionic stem cells, that Python 3 is the only one that's available?
Yeah, exactly.
Got it, makes sense. All right, any other questions about the HA proxy Bosch release? If not, I know we've got Birdrock on the line. So would you want to give us an update on release integration things?
Sure. It's generally a flurry of updates. We cut new releases for CF deployment, for CF cates, and CF acceptance tests. Highlights are basically like for CFD, we're not testing some of these experimental ops files in CI because they just caused a lot of flakes. So we figured sort of spot checking them is going to be good enough since they're experimental. CF cates, we resolved some stuff for better CF API availability during upgrades, so you don't get into a situation where you punk your API server in the middle of an upgrade and just kind of have to hope everything works. Then we have an upcoming release with a step for Istio 1.8.4, which I know some people will be happy to hear. And that we need to make sure we do before we can upgrade to Istio 1.9, because Istio has a sequential upgrade path and you can't skip any versions. We're changing the image configuration interface a little bit just to make it easier to reason about and see what images go into the product, so they'll be more centralized or at least follow a better structure. And then CATS, it was basically some of the assets are suffering from some Go related changes with Go mod versus vendoring and all that. So just sort of addressing a whole bunch of different small issues that people were having. Nothing too crazy, just marching along.
Great, thank you. Any questions about any of the release integration items?
I do. I just wanted to double check with Andrew. So this fix for cats, it's already released, right? Or is scheduled to be released?
Yes, the fix for the I can't remember which asset it is, but the issue we had with Go 1.16 in cats was released yesterday, so you can consume 7.2.0. We were not having issues because we tested against release candidate. We should probably also test against the last release, so I'll make a note of that. But since we had release candidate, which already had these changes, we didn't have an issue, and then we just needed to cut a release for everyone that wasn't consuming release candidate. So you should be good to go. Pulling 7.2.0 and you should be right as rain.
My team, we were using we're consuming actually releases and release candidate. So like half of our pipeline is broken because of that, and other half survived.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll try to make sure we test both of them in the future, but that's why we didn't see it pop up.
All right, well, last but certainly not least, Jan, would you want to give us an update on kubectl topics?
Sure. In the last 2 weeks, we moved Locket from Diego API to its own instance group so that any Diego API can connect to any Locket and not just to the one that's co-located in the same pod. I'm not sure why this worked all fine in the PR. Now that it's been merged on master, all the master builds are failing in the upgrade tests from the previous released version. I've been looking into this myself, even locally. I cannot reproduce it, but on CI, it almost always fails. So we're kind of blocked on this. It needs some more time to investigate. I think it's a Quarks operator issue, but before I really point the fingers there, I need to be more sure. I forgot to mention this here. There's also a new Quarks operator release since yesterday that has a fix for drain scripts. Previously, there was a bug that drains would only wait for their own jobs, but not for the drain scripts in other containers that are part of the same pod. That's supposed to be fixed, but it's not been tested by kubectl yet. So I'm not sure if I have to revert the Locket change or if we test this in a branch, we'll see. There's also a PR that's ready to be merged about CF deployment updater. We removed that in the previous release because it had the failing readiness probe, and with moving to the latest CF deployment release, this is supposedly working again, and it would be merged if we hadn't this update failure in CI. And then there's ongoing discussion between kubectl team and the Bosch team about about the way to determine available memory inside a container with the Go-Shiga component that's used by log cache. kubectl uses a singleton for log cache because of some memory issues. So it's still unresolved, but at least there's progress and both sides are contributing to the discussion. And that's it, unless somebody has questions. Good.
Great, thanks, Jan. All right, well, that's all the updates. Any other topics that we would want to bring up for discussion before we close out today? All right, well, I think that's a wrap. Thanks everyone for attending. Definitely appreciate all of your updates. And I think there's also a Cloud Foundry community call next Wednesday, the 21st at 8. And Chris, do we still have folks lined up to talk about Pacato stuff?
Yeah, I should follow up with them, but yes, there will be a presentation on the current state of Pacato cloud native build packs and whatnot at the CAB call, as you said, next Wednesday.
Great. All right, well, if any of you are interested in attending that and hearing from other folks in the community, that'd be great. Definitely encourage you all to drop in. All right, thanks again, and see you in 2 weeks, if not before then.
Talk to you later. Bye-bye.
Bye.
All right.
Well.